I'd like to call our meeting to order. Ms. Coakley, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Heinz?
Here.
Mr. Green? Here. Mr. Derman? Here. Mr. Loop? Here. Mr. Harrell? Here. Mr. Nation? Here. Mrs. Richardson? Here. Mr. Winkler? Here. Mrs. Drucker? Mr. Bittencourt? Here. Mrs. Lamy? Here. Mr. Hersey?
He's ill.
Mr. Bro? Here. Mr. Kuzan? Here. Mrs. Page?
Thank you very much. Would you please stand and join us in the invocation and pledge led by Mr. Loop?
Father, thank you for allowing us to meet here tonight, carry out the business of our school system. Martin Luther King said, the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education. Heavenly Father, thank you for your assistance tonight. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Loop. That was very nice. Our next item is recognition of visitors. Mr. Bro, do you have someone you'd like to recognize?
Yes, I'd like to recognize Boy Scout Troop 98 from Slidell. Would you stand up? And I'd also like to recognize my wife, who's graciously spending time with me here on Valentine's Day, grading papers, Teresa Bro.
Thank you. Mr. Bettencourt.
Thank you, President Heinz. I'd like to say hello and welcome to all the ladies in red tonight. And a happy Valentine's Day to all of y'all. Thank you for being here. I know some of you had to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Bettencourt. Anyone else? All right, we'll continue with our next item, which is a public comment. We had two people sign up for 5 minutes. The first one is Cindy Rester. Ms. Rester, are you with us? All right, the second one is Renee E. Davis, Slidell Alma chapter of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Would you come forward, please?
Good evening, Superintendent Fultz and the members of the St. Tammany Parish School Board. My name is Renee Elizabeth Davis, and as president of the Slidell Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Incorporated, it is my pleasure to represent the organization this evening. The tenacious women here in red and white have joined me tonight so that you will always recognize us when we are in the community in our signature colors. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was founded on January 13th, 1913, as an organization of college-educated women committed to the constructive development of its members and to public service with a primary focus on the Black community. We are the single largest African-American women's public service organization in the country, with more than 250,000 initiated women who have joined the organization in a sisterhood of predominantly Black college-educated women. We are a private, not-for-profit, nonpartisan organization whose purpose is to provide assistance and support through established programs in the local communities. Currently, the sorority has over 1,000 collegiate and alumni chapters located in the United States, Japan, Tokyo, Germany, the Virgin Islands, Bermuda, the Bahamas, Jamaica, and the Republic of Korea. The major programs of the sorority are based on the organization's 5-point programmatic thrust, and more than 10,000 members typically attend Delta Sigma Theta sorority's biennial national conventions, in each of the 7 regional conferences held during years when there's no national convention. At the 2017 53rd National Convention held in Las Vegas, more than 38,000 members registered and attended. This year, the 54th National Convention is being held in New Orleans, Louisiana, with the theme, Joy in Our Sisterhood, Power in Our Voice, and Service in Our Heart. The Slidell Alumni Chapter adheres to the National Organization 5-point programmatic thrust of economic development, educational development, international awareness and involvement, physical and mental health, and political awareness and involvement to support national initiatives. Since our founding, members of our sorority have always included a significant number of educators, and we work side by side with the St. Tammany Community School Board to foster intellectual growth of our youth. In fact, over 1/3 of our Slidell members continue this tradition as teachers and school administrators in the St. Tammany Parish School System. Yearly, we have approximately 50 students who participate in 3 substantial programs which meet monthly. 2 of these are for women, Growing and Empowering Myself Successively, or GEMS for girls age 14 to 18, and Delta Academy for girls 11 to 14. For our young men, we have Empowering Males to build opportunities for developing independence or embody. Topics covered during our youth include African American history, literacy, educational enrichment, disaster preparedness, and health. We also sponsor college tours. The chapter also conducts a yearly science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM Day, that services hundreds of students. This year, STEM will be in April of 2019. As active members of this community, Slidell alumni continues to be interested in the equitable and inclusive education of all St. Tammany Parish students to the highest levels of their capability. We hope that you will see us as partners in this effort and will feel free to call us for support when needed. In turn, we will continue to seek out opportunities to support the students of this parish, and we thank you for giving us this time to communicate our services to the parish. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Davis. You sound like a very active, vital sisterhood, and we're very pleased to have your support and a great relationship with you. Thank you very much. All right, 3 minutes comment period. We did not have anyone sign up for that comment period, so we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is approval of the minutes from the regular meeting held on January 10th, 2019. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes? Moved by Mr. Kuzan, second by Ms. Richardson. Do we have any questions from the board on those or on those minutes? Any comments from the public? If not, then we'll vote on the machine, please. We have 13 yeas. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Our second item is approval of the minutes from the special meeting held on January 12th, 2019. This would be minutes from the retreat. Do I have a motion to accept these minutes? I have a motion from Mr. Betancourt, a second from Mr. Loop. Do we have any questions from board? Any comments from the public? All those in favor, or everyone please vote on your machine. This machine every time gets me. All right, we have 13 yeas for that one. Passes. Item C is approval of the minutes from the special meeting held on January 17th, 2019. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes? Moved by Mr. Derman and second by Mr. Harrell. Any comments from board members on that meeting? Any comments from the public? If not, will you please vote on the machine? All right, we have 14 yeas for that. It passes. Thank you very much. Okay. We'll move on to item number D now, which is appropriate retirement resolutions for the following certificated personnel subsequent to January 10th, 2019. Mr. Jabby, if you'd read that list, please.
Thank you, Ms. Heinz. Maria N. Vargas, Fontainebleau High, 18.06 years, 6.81 years in St. Tammany Parish. Sandra C. Ferret, Harrison Curriculum Center, 50.61 years, 36.39 years in St. Tammany Parish. Deborah T. Schellinger, Little Oak Middle, 26.51 years, 13.51 years in St. Tammany Parish. Judith M. Hankel, Little Pearl Elementary, 25 years, all in St. Tammany Parish.
Need a motion to accept these retirement resolutions. I have a motion from Mr. Green and a second from Ms. Laming. Any comments from board members? Any comments from the public? Please vote. We have 14 yeas, no nays. Motion passes. Our next one is appropriate retirement resolutions for the following non-certificated personnel subsequent to January 10th, 2019. Mr. Jabby, if you'd read that list, please.
Thank you. Vivian L. Turner, Fontainebleau Junior High, 15.11 years, all in St. Tammany Parish. Josephine B. West, Chafuncta Middle, 9.81 years, all in St. Tammany Parish. Robert F. McNeil, Transportation Center, 6.57 years, all in St. Tammany Parish. Carrie J. Reeves, Whispering Forest Elementary, 15.21 years, all in St. Tammany Parish.
Thank you. I need a motion to accept those. Mr. Bro makes that motion. We have a second from Ms. Richardson. Do we have any comments from board members? Any comments from the public? Please vote on the machine. Mr. Kuzan? All right, we have 14 yeas, no nays. Thank you very much. Our next item is certification of board members. Mr. Foles.
Thank you, Ms. Heinz. I do certify that the board members that are listed in your agenda item did indeed get their training as required by law on February 7, 2019.
Thank you very much. That brings us to our next item, which is approval of the recommendations from the committee as a whole meeting for Human Resources and Education that was held on February 7th, and I'd like to call on Mr. Kuzan for that.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee as a whole meeting for Human Resources and Education was held on February 7, 2019. We recommend the following. Recommends approval of the science textbook selections made by the textbook committee, and I so move.
All right, Mr. Kuzan has made that motion. Do I have a second? I have a second from Mr. Nation. Any questions on the science textbook adoption from board members? Any questions from anyone in the public? Would you please cast your vote? We have 14 yeas, no nays.
And that completes our report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kuzan. Our next item is approval of recommendations from the committee as a whole meeting for Business Affairs Administrative held on February 7, 2019. Mr. Derman will give that report.
Thank you, Ms. Heinz. Yes, ma'am, we have a few recommendations. First is recommends the acceptance of the low base bid plus alternate 1 and alternate 2 submitted by Volkel McWilliams Construction LLC in the amount of $13,350,000 for the additions at Madisonville Elementary School, STPPS project number 1800.
And I have a motion by Ms. Drucker. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Green. Do we have any questions on the bids for Madisonville Elementary School from board members? Any questions from any member of the public? Thank you. We'll now vote on the machine. We have 14 yeas, no nay. That motion passes. Mr. Derman?
Thank you, Ms. Hines. Item B recommends acceptance of the low base bid plus alternate 1 and alternate 2 submitted by Thompson Construction Company in the amount of $14,598,000 for the additions at Mandeville High School, STPSB project number 1805.
I have a motion from Mr. Green and a second from Mr. Nation to accept the low bids for the Mandeville High School project. Do we have any questions from board members? Any comments from the public? Would you please cast your ballot? We have 14 yeas, no nays. Motion carries. Mr. Derman.
Thank you, Ms. Hines. Our final recommendation recommends the acceptance of the low base bid submitted by CDX Construction LLC in the amount of $167,000 for the site improvements at Covington High School, STPSB project number P0217.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Loop.
Second.
A second by Mr. Derman to accept the low base bid on the project at Covington High School. Do we have any questions from board members? Ms. Lamy?
Just to make this fun, so we're not all just saying that we don't have questions, I'm just curious, in the contract, is there something stating an estimated completion time? And is there any kind of penalty if they don't meet it?
Ms. Tipton?
So the completion time, this is a job that is mostly going to be done during the summer, but if it was to extend for any reason into the school year, it would be coordinated around school hours and activities. And
I'm
you're,
just asking, I mean, I understand some things are not preventable, but I live in an area that they're fixing a bridge and it's like 8 months past when it's supposed to be done, so it's a real big thing. And I know it would be hard on the students and teachers, so
Sure.
I'm just wondering if there's
well, one of the reasons that it was bid this early was because there's a long lead time to order some items, so we're trying to do that ahead of the end of the school year.
if there isn't anything in the contract stating it's not done by.
Yes, ma'am, there is. We'll have a notice to proceed on liquidated damages. Yes, ma'am.
And Ms. Tipton, would you just explain how you monitor that progress throughout the project and that your staff makes accommodations with?
Yes, ma'am. So, yes, we do have architect that's working on the job along with our office, and we have meetings with the contractor throughout the entire project.
I was just curious about the completion date. I know y'all do a great job. I was just curious. You don't have to explain what I'm saying unless it's for somebody else.
All right, thank you. Mr. Nation?
Thank you, Madam President. Following up on Mrs. Hines' question, maybe you can explain to the public as well as to all of us here just that about standard contractual language regarding penalties and so forth. I mean, just as an overview, that we do have that in all our
Yes, sir.
all our contracts, I'm sure.
Yes,
Right?
so
Is that
we
correct?
have a stated amount of time for the work to be done that's relative to the scope of work in each case. And we do have liquidated damages if the work is not done within that time frame, but it is subject to possible changes in time relative to change orders. But yes, sir, we do monitor all of that.
Thank you, Ms. Tipton. Any other comments from board members? Any comments from the public? All right, we have a motion by Mr. Loop and a second by Mr. Derman to accept the low base bids for Covington High School project P0217. Would you please cast your vote? We have 14 yeas, no nays. That motion does carry. Mr. Derman?
Ms. Hines, I just wanted to say go Lions. And that completes our report.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Derman. All right. Our next item is announcements by the board president. And they are that the schools will be closed March 4th through the 8th for the Mardi Gras holidays. The central office sites will be closed on March 4th and 5th for Mardi Gras. And our next committee as a whole meeting will be on Thursday, March 14th, 2019, at 6 p.m. We've had a very short meeting this evening, but that's nice for a Valentine's evening, so enjoy the rest of your evening, and thank you for being here.